What interesting times we live in. The leaders of the West are pushing massively against globalization, and at the same time, China has its president stand up and defend globalization.
我宣布，一带一路国际合作高峰论坛圆桌峰会开幕。
So the Belt and Road Initiative is the big idea for the world, and what it does is it tries to convey this idea of engaging with China on your terms, but also on China's terms.
The Western financial crisis in 2007-8 was the key moment. The economy had to be reconceived. There were new opportunities, and he recognized them.
In the raw politics of international relations, what it means is a greater emphasis on a multipolar order, driven by multilateral institutions, pursuing a community of common destiny.
我们生活在同一个全球村，我们每一个国家都要承担一份责任。
中国方案是构建人类命运共同体，实现共赢、共享。
I'm Marianne O'Hotter. Some people are saying that the 21st century will be China's century, and I think that's absolutely right.
My name is Danny Forster, and I've had the opportunity to travel all over China. Right now, they have a really active position on the world stage. So my question is, will this role produce more stability or more tension?
I'm Dr. Jordan Nguyen. We're moving into a future where China is becoming more powerful. Oh, yeah! And people of my generation want to know what that world will look like. In this episode, we touch down on 4 continents to discover how Chinese investment and culture are changing lives, as China takes its place as a leading player on the world stage. To understand China's vision for the world, a good place to start is Africa. In May 2017, Kenya saw the opening of the biggest infrastructure project since independence. It's a train line that connects the capital, Nairobi, with the coast. The Madaraka Express, all part of China's global investment in infrastructure, known collectively as the Belt and Road Initiative.
这个"一带一路"呢，能不能作为中国最重要的一个中国方案，向全世界提供一种新的发展模式、发展道路和发展理念。
The backbone of any economy is infrastructure. It doesn't matter how many goods and services you can produce if you cannot deliver them to market.
Kenyan women are key to the success of this new railway.
我叫伊丽莎白，我今年24岁，我是肯尼亚女火车司机。And that means my name is Elizabeth, and I'm 24 years old, and I'm a Kenyan female driver.
Elizabeth speaks Chinese because she learned to drive her train in China. Today she's preparing for a special journey. The world's press has turned up to capture the historic moment. President Uhuru Kenyatta declaring the line open and taking the inaugural journey. Just look who's in the driver's seat. Before the Chinese came on board with the project, rail travel in Kenya had been way off track. The previous line, built over 100 years ago, was known locally as the Lunatic Express and was unable to meet the needs of modern Kenya.
All attempts to make that railway commercial so that it can carry a lot of freight and also carry a lot of passengers has been unsuccessful.
Solomon Una was an engineer on the old line for over 40 years, but he had a dream, a brand new line fit for the 21st century. There was just one problem: money. Finally, in 2014, President Xi Jinping offered a solution. A loan of 90% of the costs of a new railway, technical expertise and overseas training for Kenyans. For Elizabeth, a whole new chapter in her life began.
We went for training in China. That was the first time I got hold of driving a train. It was really exciting because I thought this is something I didn't imagine myself doing.
一个国家发展，就是要对它的人力资本进行投资。我们帮助他们来进行人力资本投资。
The investment in infrastructure in Kenya will expand into the interior is massively transformative for countries that need to trade. If they can use that capital to invest in a country that is 100% arable land or where they can easily grow crops, then they can say, we'll build the infrastructure, win for you, but in return, we need food. Can you export all your food to us? Win for us.
Following the success of the president's opening, Nairobi to Mombasa has become a regular trip for Elizabeth.
After turning on the locomotive, the journey starts. The journey, which once took 24 hours by train, now takes a mere 4.5, to the delight of Elizabeth's passengers.
Because by bus, it's hard to plan because you don't know if there's traffic or not. But with the train, it's guaranteed.
Everyone wants to try the train. So that brings business to Mombasa. That brings business to Nairobi.
And this new line is all about business. The motivation for China getting involved is the expectation that improved transport links between the port of Mombasa and Nairobi will energise the Kenyan economy.
This project has given the Kenyans a lot of pride. High speed, high capacity, modern railway.
My hope for the future is to see a Kenya that is growing day by day. I feel like I have empowered so many women out there. I really like my job.
The core idea is to improve infrastructure in developing countries, and it leverages to a large extent China's experience in infrastructure, whether it's trains or roads or airports.
The reality is China is doing what it's doing in Africa across the world. They're doing it in the United States, they're investing in Canada, in United Kingdom. They are massive investors in South America, in Asia, in Europe.
The Belt and Road Initiative is China's idea to relink Africa and Europe with Asia via new infrastructure. And it isn't only about developing countries. Anybody can get involved.
One place hoping to benefit from Xi's Belt and Road dream is a city that owes its beauty and status to history, to the last time the Silk Road flourished. Venice, Italy. Former Mayor Paolo Costa, Venice born and bred, is on a mission to revive the glory days of his city. 500 years ago, it was one of the richest and most cosmopolitan cities in the world.
It was absolutely the point in which everything was happening. Maybe today I have to say it's the Shanghai of that time.
All thanks to trade along the medieval Silk Road. But today, Venice has a problem.
Tourism is almost the only industry left in the city. Its old prosperity as a wealthy port city built on flourishing international east-west trade is long gone.
我们要对接所有国家的发展的战略，我们这是使亚洲地区、非洲地区复兴，也要使欧洲地区进一步的复兴。
Well, what makes now Venice special is what it was, not what it is. It may be what it will be. That's my project.
Paolo believes Venice has the chance to become the port of choice for ships coming from the east once again. He's on his way to China to speak at a Belt and Road conference in Tianjin. Belt and Road projects are already under construction. Railways, roads and bridges in Ethiopia and Laos. Power plants across Central and South Asia. Ports in Greece and Pakistan. This combination of Chinese expertise and investment aims to jumpstart global economic growth. In 2016, over $47 billion was spent on Belt and Road projects.
When you read the literature on One Belt, One Road, the underlying thematic is win-win.
really win-win has to now start meaning win-win for China and its partners. There can't be an idea that it's always on China's terms.
Tianjin, China. Paulo Costa has come to speak at a Belt and Road Initiative conference.
Professor Paulo Costa.
When I was a child, I was told the wealth of my city came exactly from the Silk Road.
它一带一路不是 not a plan, but China initiative. 它 initiative 倡议就是说我倡议你也来加入。
Paulo's project to revive Venice's fortunes is cutting edge.
Thank you, Mr. Costa.
The idea is to build a deep water container port 8 kilometres offshore that will bring vital new business and jobs to Venice without damaging the ancient city. He tried for years without success to get investment in Europe. Now, a Chinese civil engineering company has come on board, bringing investment, maritime construction expertise, and an enthusiasm for the project to match his own.
There was a matching with the attitude coming from the Chinese in their own One Belt, One Road strategy. That's why they are the best allies of this idea. And maybe those around the world are perceiving better this opportunity.
And Paulo is optimistic the energetic trading spirit of the Silk Road will soon be felt again in his home city of Venice.
This is a Venetian renaissance, and it's really interesting to see the links that China is making across Europe, across the whole world.
But bottom line is the Belt and Road Initiative is potentially one of the most important worldwide ways of thinking since World War II.
If you look back on the 1940s and 50s, tremendous amount of thinking on how to create a world order that would ensure peace and prosperity for everybody. I mean, ultimately, that's what everybody wants.
我们要将“一带一路”建成繁荣之路。发展是解决一切问题的总钥匙。
Hangzhou 2016. The people of the city are preparing for the G20 summit, from the bike repairman all the way to the all-female park patrol wardens. This city is getting ready to welcome the world. I think one of the byproducts of China's now public role on the world stage is that the world is listening. For the first time, China will host the G20, and President Xi Jinping will chair the meeting.
I think that's the first time in modern history that a Chinese leader has had that kind of audience in the West.
中国对外开放不是要一家唱独角戏，而是欢迎各方共同参与；不是要营造自己的后花园，而是要建设各国共享的百花园。
The things that Xi Jinping says, his philosophies, his ideas, are not just germane to the Chinese people, but to the world beyond.
Xi Jinping is a leader who dreams very big dreams. I think he has a genuine sense of personal destiny as well.
Strong, far-sighted, self-confident.
Does represent someone who combines a very good sense of history and a dedication to his father's dreams of a modern and developed and progressive China.
Alongside Xi Jinping's commitment to globalization is his concept of the community of shared destiny.
愿同广大成员国、国际组织和机构一道，共同推进构建人类命运共同体的伟大进程。
This idea of Xi Jinping's about a community of shared destiny has long resonances in the Chinese tradition.
那么，命运共同体到底怎么塑造？那我想几千年都是一个人类的理想，怎么样把真正的构建一个人类命运共同体？
In the past, it was more what I can gain for myself. If I control more, and it means I'll be wealthier, and that takes away from someone else. The shared destiny goes way beyond that and says that there are things that we could do together that raises everybody. And
I do think that Western society is becoming more sensitized to this idea of communal living, needing to work together towards a bigger societal goal.
In 2016, Xi Jinping's two signature ideas, the community of shared destiny and globalization, came together when China founded a bank specifically designed to fund development. It's called the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank.
这是见证历史的时刻。
Think about infrastructure in very big terms, railways and airports and so forth, but we don't often think about bottom-up development, and it's also really, really critical. One of the AIIB's first loans was to help improve hundreds of poor Indonesian neighborhoods. Upgrading a slum in Indonesia might seem like a really small project, but the economic implication can be huge. Meet Sumono. He's an ampo maker, a healer of sorts. He makes a type of traditional Javanese herbal remedy.
Dan saya sehari-hari di Yogyakarta, pekerjaan saya bikin ampo dari tanah liat.
Potential benefit is addressing world imbalance and giving developing countries the tools to build themselves, and that makes it sustainable.
Locals chew ampo to aid digestion. For this, he needs clean sand. However, when the local river was polluted, Sumono could not work.
另外来看呢，就是我们创新融资手段，比如建立亚投行，实行长期对基础设施的贷款、低息了，还有其他的一些手段，能够进行融资。
Ash Rodiono works for the Indonesian City Without Slums project. His team have upgraded the sewage waste and drainage systems, improved roads, and developed green areas.
Fasilitas-fasilitas yang memang itu sangat dibutuhkan oleh masyarakat, yang tadinya memang masyarakat tidak pernah bermimpi akan seperti ini hasilnya. Untuk kegiatan-kegiatan yang kita lakukan memang tidak hanya fokus pada infrastruktur, tapi juga pada pengembangan kapasitas masyarakat.
The clean and accessible waterways means Sumono has been able to return to work as a healer. And life for everyone in the community has improved.
Kalau sore buat main anak-anak, dan sekarang bersih lah, sangat bagus.
The project's reach extends to 154 cities in Indonesia and will benefit nearly 8 million people. That kind of local, community-based domestic dignity has a huge impact in the economic development for this town and neighborhoods just like it. 56 countries have now joined the AIIB, and they've invested a whopping $3 billion in development projects across Asia, Europe, and the Middle East.
Recently, I came across a story that sums up how trade can create new links between people. It's all about a freight line that now links Western Europe with China. What it needed was a leap of imagination. Mrs. Huang and her husband Jiang Jia run an import business in Yiwu, 300 kilometers from Shanghai.
喂，你好，你是物流保税中心吗？
Mrs. Huang is chasing a delivery.
我也很着急，因为这个货我们这里确实要品酒用的，现在没有货。
The delivery is traveling thousands of kilometers.
China used to be very totally regionalized, that you had no way to ship goods out of just a local area. Today you can get any product overnight. And to bring that to the world in terms of logistics will be an enormous way to benefit the world.
And it's about connectivity. It's about creating connectivity in terms of internet, logistics, people-to-people, cultural links, trying to kind of create people's interest in engaging with China who have never thought of it before.
Wine, it's my life, but it's not just a drink, it's really a lifestyle and a passion that you can share to everybody.
In northern Spain, Rafael's family have tended these vineyards for 4 generations. China is the world's largest market for wine, which means big business for Rafael. But it's not just about the wine.
It's a time to let them understand our character, our philosophy. And Rioja is so small, but with a lot of passion.
And thanks to the new linking of international railways, there's a new way to get his wine to China.
通过互联互通，就会进一步的推动整个经济一体化、经济全球化。
It's an epic journey. Travelling through 8 countries, it withstands extreme weather with temperatures as low as -40 degrees. With 3 track changes. But it's quicker than travelling by sea and cheaper than going by air. Arriving at its destination around 21 days later.
China needs to rebalance its own geography, and so many of the provinces that are on the Belt and Road route are at the periphery, are not at the highest developed level now. So those provinces will benefit more than they have in the past.
It is a way of restating a kind of order in which China would be the most comfortable, in which they have friendly economic relations with a whole range of countries, ensuring access to markets and resources as far as possible.
哎，老公啊，货到了，去拿货吧，谢谢啊。
It's just in time for her tasting. And for the return trip, businessmen in Yiwu fill the train with goods people in Europe want to buy. This newly linked up international trading connection is offering new opportunities for businesses in Western Europe to export to China, something they never previously thought about.
Rather than in the past, as we were like more distant, because we didn't have enough opportunity to work together. Transport was a big issue, and nowadays with the train, I think it makes everything easier.
我们这个酒的文化从西班牙进过来，进到中国来。
It seems that transport links are more than just about trade. It's an opportunity to share cultures.
干杯！Salud!
What it is making sure that the world sees China as a partner. It doesn't see it as a threat.
实际上，丝绸之路本身就是一个文化交流之路，是文化互鉴之路，也是文化我们说的分享之路。
President Xi has even coined a phrase for this, the Silk Road spirit. It's the inspiring idea that when people from different cultures come together, they can create something great. World-class pipa player Wu Man has come to New Haven to collaborate with award-winning American string quartet, the Miro Quartet.
Right now, I'm going to go into rehearsal, and this is the first time I'm gonna meet with the Miro Quartet, pipa and the string quartet put together. I'm very excited.
the future of music is the melding of all of this sort of cross-culturalism and trying to really make Western ideas and the Eastern ideas and just bring them together and see what happens. I think there's a lot of exciting things that could happen with that and is happening with that.
The piece, Gardenia, has been specially written for their collaboration by Chinese composer Ye Xiaogang.
我不久前写过一个栀子花，栀子花其实是岳阳的诗花，它有一个调了啊，所以这些调呢都被我写到音乐里去了。那么这个东西当和西方的乐器一结合，和西方的音乐文化一结合，产生了一种很独特的，在东方和西方文化之上的一种新的一个文化。
Wu Man has never met the Miro Quartet.
We're excited to hear what this piece sounds like.
Yeah,
But in just 24 hours, they will perform Gardenia together as the climax of Yale's Arts and Ideas Festival. Cultural exchange is so important because it reminds us to be proud of our own cultural traditions. It also reminds us of the common ground that we all share.
The evocative nature of that instrument with the quartet, I think you'll really enjoy. So this is the world premiere.
"这就从中国之梦变成世界之梦。我们中国之梦是什么之梦？就是伟大的复兴。世界之梦是什么呢？就是我们要打造一个利益共同体。
It's not about us embracing Chinese values, because I don't think China wants that. It feels it's pretty exceptionist.
The other influence which people have really thought about is cultural. This is going to be such a powerful feature of Chinese influence in the world.
Traditional Chinese medicine student Xie Miaoyang and her classmates are rehearsing a dance that tells the story of TCM. And in a few weeks, they'll perform in front of an audience in Paris. Their dance, however, does have a serious message.
中医药，我觉得面对在世界来说，并不是为众人所了解和接纳的。所以，作为我们中医的学生，需要有这样的责任和情怀去传播它，去让更多的人了解中国中医药。
以便并论。
Today, students arrive from all over the world to study TCM, drawn to that ancient Chinese system of knowledge. Certainly when I started coming to China, there was a big deference towards Western culture. But increasingly there's a kind of modest enthusiasm about Chinese culture, not just what's happening within China, but also sharing it with the rest of the world. American student Stephen Wang came to Beijing to train in traditional Chinese medicine after he was treated with TCM back in America.
If you're studying with the best Chinese doctors in China, you're kind of studying with the best Chinese doctors in the world.
When I was a kid growing up in New York, if you felt sick, you went to the doctor, and he probably gave you a pill, and you probably did feel better ultimately, but today, things have changed. You will actually have a legitimate conversation about pairing Western and Eastern medical methodologies, and that's a big change. Stephen is in his final year of his studies, and today, he's treating a patient. To alleviate her condition, Stephen is going to perform acupuncture. This is used to release the flow of energy known as qi. Practitioners believe that qi travels throughout the body on different paths, meeting at the top of the head.
When you said Chinese culture, they meant traditional Chinese culture. And that was by definition unmodernized. But as a country develops, it then begins to rediscover itself.
modern China somehow should be built on top of your heritage, but drawing the wisdom of the past into the future.
Obviously, I think good Western medicine and good Chinese medicine are both just seeking for efficacy.
A knowledge of TCM also proved the secret to finding a new, successful treatment for malaria. Inspired by an ancient TCM remedy, Chinese chemist Tu Youyou found that the Artemisia plant is effective against malaria. Her discoveries have saved millions of lives and won her a Nobel Prize.
The real source of wealth in the world is the creation of knowledge. And so the more knowledge is spread, the more everybody benefits, because knowledge multiplies.
Now, I think that the Chinese do now, or are developing a vision for the world. They do acquire a new mindset, a new imagination.
With this new mindset comes a confidence to share not only China's ancient wisdom, but also knowledge hard-won in today's world, including a deeper understanding of our relationship with the environment. In northern China, imagination and experimentation have revealed insights relevant to desertified areas worldwide.
再说的话，我成天还想到大，水没办法，水反正就是轰了上，把高楼刺上去，热问问。
Simply planting trees was not enough to hold back the desert. Through years of trial and error, local people have found out exactly how to revive this environment.
China really will be the leader, I believe, in terms of setting the agenda for the environmental aspects, not just at home, but also abroad. And we know that they're using a lot of innovation in that respect.
Now, 1/3 of this area is green with trees, and delegations from as far away as Pakistan and Saudi Arabia have come to discover the lessons learnt in Kubuchi. Protecting the environment is probably the single biggest issue that is facing our generation. In December 2015, in a historic moment, China and the United States led over 190 countries to commit to action on climate change under the United Nations Paris Climate Agreement.
作为全球治理的一个重要领域，应对气候变化的全球努力是一面镜子，给我们思考和探索未来全球治理模式，推动建设人类命运共同体带来宝贵启示。
I think Xi's achievements thus far, from a global perspective, would be having brought about a fundamental U-turn in Chinese policies on climate change. In terms of consequences for the planet, to have China on board, I put that down as a win.
I see a newfound confidence that means that China and Xi Jinping are really taking their place on a global stage. China is getting more deeply involved in a wide range of global institutions. China has become a major funder of the World Health Organization and the World Bank. Their voice is heard in the G20 and at the UN Security Council. As China takes a more prominent role on the world stage, I'm keen to understand, what kind of global power will China be?
In 2014, the Ebola crisis had a major impact on Western Africa. China sent medical personnel to help the victims, as well as disease prevention specialists to try and stop the outbreak. This was a first in China, the very first time that they sent aid to a foreign country in response to a health crisis.
We'll fight Ebola together!
By 2016, China had sent medical aid to 69 countries, including 600,000 medical personnel at a cost of 60 billion US dollars. Dr. Lilian was trained in China as part of this aid program. Now she's back in Rwanda working alongside her Chinese mentor, Dr. Liu.
I really wanted to go to China because I heard Chinese, they do work very hard and they are developing very fast. So I thought maybe there's something I can learn from them.
天津蛮好学的，他现在基本上产科门诊见，基本上除了就普通的没有特别大的异常的，就差不多了。
Today, they're operating on a young woman pregnant with twins. Time is of the essence. 3 lives are at risk.
Nobody wants to feel like they're the object of charity. But if you give me a tool that I can build my own house or do something myself or educate me, then I feel good and I appreciate it.
Their notion of community and a shared destiny doesn't stop at my Chinese neighbor or the Chinese society. They're very much pushing this idea as a global frame for the way in which the world should engage, one in which we should care about what's happening in countries elsewhere.
Angkor is a world-famous archaeological site in Cambodia, and a place with such importance for human history, for understanding civilization and where we've come from, isn't just the responsibility of Cambodia, it's a global responsibility. Liu Yuanda is one of many Chinese conservation specialists who've taken up this challenge of helping preserve our shared global cultural heritage.
当时我很小的时候，我们在上小学的时候吧，我记得是，那个时候老师讲的一些世界的几大奇迹，我记得其中之一有一个就是柬埔寨的吴哥窟。
Sites like Angkor need to be protected, and the way to do that is through international collaboration. Local man Nuth Piong is part of the conservation team.
ទម្រង់ដើមមិនគេគេធ្វើឲ្យទៅតាមទម្រង់ដើមវិញចា
我们所有的就是跟当地的人都非常的融洽，我们就平时的话就像朋友一样，在工作上配合呢，因为长时间的一个配合已经有了一定的默契。
បាទខ្ញុំធ្វើការជាមួយក្រុមចិននេះគឺអត់មានការឧបសគ្គអ្វីទេបាទព្រោះអានេះ
吴哥这个考古，整个吴哥考古公园里面，这里面有很多大大小小很多的遗址，这是一个可以说是全人类的一个文化瑰宝吧。
可以说，不同的宗教、不同的文化这种交流，是人类发展历史的一个主线、主流。
The concept of shared destiny is a very important one. It's a dance between what you do for your self-interest and what you do for the world.
China's position as a sort of leader, as a global power, means more and more responsibilities.
Wherever you go in the world, China is so evident.
Not just investing in developing countries, but also taking a role in global institutions. In 2015, Chinese peacekeepers began a tour of duty in South Sudan. They're still there today. One of the world's poorest countries, civil war broke out here shortly after independence. The peacekeepers' job is to protect the civilian population against attacks by rival militias. Out on patrol through the bush, they must always be on alert for attack.
This is the UN camp.
The Chinese are becoming not just Chinese citizens, but global citizens. The United Nations peacekeeping operations, I mean, I think now China is the biggest single contributor to peacekeeping operations. These are all part of China being much more interested in, willing to participate globally.
After years of war, basic services have broken down. 7 million people in South Sudan are in need of emergency aid. The peacekeepers go into local villages to give vital medical treatment.
Okay, good. And then I think headache.
During this tour of duty in South Sudan, 2 Chinese soldiers were killed. They were among 35,000 Chinese men and women who've served the United Nations as Blue Helmets.
The world reflects on where China is going next.
There's no question of China ever dominating everybody in the world. This is not that kind of world anymore. And China, I think, respects that, understands that.
We are all going to have to learn something from the Chinese state, because the rise of China sets a new bar.
This is a time in geopolitical events that we haven't seen in a very long time. China's going to take a new place in the world.
The One Belt, One Road initiative is one of these incredibly transformative ideas. On paper, it's genius.
How this grand experiment turns out, I don't know. But you've got to say, no one's tried anything like this.
It's not for a few years. This will take a century or more to really fully implement. It's something that the world needs, and it's part of a collective world way of thinking. It's a new way of thinking.
At the heart of today's China stands President Xi.
他是一种改作改为的领导人. He dares to make a decision.
And now, not only have they stood up, but they're standing proud. That's at the heart of Xi Jinping's emotional message.
China, which is strong enough, powerful enough, never to feel fearful for its future sovereignty. China taking a much bolder place in the councils of the region and the world.
愿同广大成员国、国际组织和机构一道，共同推进构建人类命运共同体的伟大进程。